and welcome to another episode of the On Trade Network sessions. My guest tonight is another Ross. So you've got two Rosses for the price of one this week. Ross Bryant from Berry Brothers and Rudd, who's sent me some products to sample while we chat. Ross, really great to have you on. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, thanks very much.
So Ross has kindly sent me. It's really weird saying Ross because I'm like, it's like I'm talking about myself. But Ross has sent me a really nice bottle of the number 3 gin, which I love the bottle, and I'm about to drink the drink, and then also a bottle of Vespa Martini. So, and I think you've got that on the go. Is that right?
Yeah, I've poured myself a glass to see me through.
It's far more sophisticated, isn't it, with a martini glass? So no, that's nice. But thank you very much for sending these through.
You're very welcome.
So if you could just do a little bit of an introduction about yourself and then about the company you work for, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Ross Bryant, currently the brand ambassador for number 3 gin. Prior to stepping into this role, so I moved into this role February last year. So a bit of awkward timing, really, literally 4 weeks before lockdown. Prior to that, I was in kind of bar events and consultancy. I owned a cocktail bar in Edinburgh for a little while before that, which was great fun. And prior to that, I've always been in hospitality, really, be that bars or restaurants, kind of cafes as well. So a kind of wealth of experience across the board. But it was really bars that really took my kind of love for the industry a bit further, hence, stepping into this role.
And how have you found it? I mean, obviously, like you say, you came in right at the start of the pandemic. So did you manage to get, what was your first sort of views on, joining the company and the brands that you're representing?
So I had a long-standing relationship with number 3 and by extension, Berry Brothers and Rudd before. So I did know some of the team beforehand, which was great, really, really nice. Obviously, it was an odd time to join. So I had a brief induction for when we could get out and about and kind of see people kind of across the company. But then as lockdown hit, obviously, those introductions have come to a halt. So a definite weird transition from going kind of from bars into an ambassadorial role, my first ambassadorial role. But it's been good so far. There's been a lot of learning on the go, but I think that's kind of part of the course with this role as well. So.
Yeah, and I think actually when you look at you've been the other side of the bar, so with your experience, particularly managing your own place and an understanding of cocktails and spirits in general, that's really refreshing. Because I guess if you're a bar owner and you've got someone wanting to talk to you about their brands, you're gonna take it a little bit more seriously if it's someone who's been in your shoes and done your role, because that demonstrates a proper knowledge rather than just a sales pitch.
I think it's definitely helped my approach when talking to anyone in a bar, really, because like you just said, I've understood it from their shoes. So yeah, that certainly helped.
And how did the business what did the business do during lockdown? What was the process for you guys?
So I mean, there's that overused word pivot that probably comes up for sure. I think really number 3 specifically was very much an on-trade led product of ours. It did very well with the on-trade, and fortunately it looks like we'll continue to do so. And we obviously did a lot in the off-trade, but the split was more in favor of on-trade and bars. So lockdown really saw that reverse massively, much like many other brands out there, I'd imagine. And we did very well. We've obviously got our own shop, Berry Brothers and Rudd shop, so we saw a huge uptake in sales through there. In number 3 and by an extension, lots of our other brands as well. And yeah, just more of a focus on consumers really, and lots more of our kind of customers, the likes of Waitrose, for example, are a big customer of number 3, which has been huge for us. Amazon as well by extension, at least in the UK, and gradually we're looking at other markets as well. So yeah, it's just been a lot of online and looking after customers and really kind of pushing that.
I guess it's good, if you can, you've had that time to push it in that direct to consumer market. because what it does is creates a demand so that now that people are getting back out and going to bars, they'll be actively seeking out your product. So
that's certainly the hope. Yeah, we'd love to see that, and I think we're starting to. Long may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I was to go out in trade and look for your brand, where am I going to find it at the moment?
In trade, well, it depends where you are, really. There are lots of bars out there that do stock us. Unfortunately, I've not been able to get out and see all of them for obvious reasons. We're stocked in a lot of kind of hotel bars.
Yeah.
First and foremost, we're a super premium gin, and it's very fitting for us to be situated in such bars. We're in lots of lovely independents as well, likes of kind of Swift in London, Satan's Whiskers, a couple of my favorite bars, yeah. Duke's, a great hotel bar, and have been a big supporter of Number 3 from the get-go. But yeah, I mean, there's countless bars out there to name. So
yeah, well, cool. Well, now, I mean, I've tried it, and it's very, very nice. I am a fan of gin. So when I picked it up and I read the bottle, and it says about the perfect balance of juniper, citrus, and spice. And I opened the bottle. First thing I did was have a smell, and the juniper just was there. But it's lovely and refreshing. It's dry but not too dry. So yeah, no, I'd certainly buy it. So that's
And good start.
Yeah, and I'm not just saying that because you sent me a nice bottle. I'd be perfectly honest if it wasn't for me. I like it. I like the branding, and I'm sure it'll do really, really well. So, so talk me through the Vespa Martini, which you sent me through.
Yeah, so that was a collaboration with Alessandro Palazzi, bar manager of Duke's Bar, of course. Again, we've got a long-standing relationship with himself and Duke's as well. He was originally kind of on our panel of experts when we created Number 3 gin. So, been very good friends for a long time. He has his own signature take on the Vespa Martini, which is fairly synonymous with Duke's Hotel. Ian Fleming famously stayed there a lot as he was kind of penning the James Bond novels. So there's a big tie-in there with those films and books as well. So he's taken his own take on this martini, which we've bottled, and it's an effortless serve. Really, you chuck it in the freezer for a couple of hours, and then pour straight into your martini glass and garnish with, in Alessandro's take, an orange twist in place of a lemon twist. So, slight twist on the classic, but something that's, really helps the Number 3 shine through. Number 3 is very much a kind of martini style gin. It's got that lovely texture and mouthfeel. It's got those wonderful botanicals that shine through. So it seems like the perfect kind of starting point for a cocktail, really. And who better than, Alessandro Palazzi, who is synonymous with the martini.
And I'm going to try some of that later, and the thoughts of, being James Bond for the night is going through my mind. So yeah, no, that's great. So, what do you think in terms of, how we can all help support as brand owners? Because obviously you've got some great brands. What are your views on the on trade? Where obviously it's all back open again now indoors, apart from the very late night, which we're hoping. That late night high tempo will open up on the 21st of June. So what do you think the future is for the on trade? It's a big question.
It's a very big question, and I think there's been long-standing relationships between brands and bars, for such a long time now. But after this year, I think that dynamic might change somewhat. There's some form of give and take. There are brands that obviously have budgets and they have targets to hit and whatnot. But at the end of the day, this industry, unfortunately, is pretty much on its knees, and we need to support wherever we can, wherever possible. So I think for some brands, Number 3 is not the biggest. We don't have the biggest budgets, but we certainly want to help where we can, where we possibly can. And I dare say, that's going to be the same for every other brand out there. And we'll do our bit to try and get bars back on their feet and support them where we can, and obviously try and drive consumers in as well. So there's a broad spectrum of ways that we can support, and every brand will be different. There'll be some that take out big checkbooks and they write a check. There'll be some that will support in other ways, and in any way we can, I'd love to. Obviously, coming from that background and having previously owned a bar, I can only sympathize with bar owners and bartenders at the moment, because it's a very difficult situation. So yeah, just driving in as many consumers as we can, supporting where possible, and always just being on, even if it's just being on the end of the phone. I've got so many friends in the industry, and if it's just a case of, if you're having a bad time or need to have a chat, I'm always here for that. It might just be as simple as that. But
yeah, and I think as well, things have changed. So, I've worked on driving brands into the on trade and activation, and really making them work for the the businesses that are selling them. And I think I've worked in businesses where we've had no budget or very little budget, and I've worked in some where you have had that kind of checkbook, um, so you could spend. But I think what we're seeing now is the art of the knowledge, I guess, of the drinks and how to make cocktails at home, and the home bar situation that we've seen pop up during lockdown. What it means now is, I think that the on trade really need people to work with them on things that it's not necessarily about cash for big shiny bits and pieces for the bar. It's more about ideas and working with them on how we can create an experience that people can't get at home, an experience that makes it feel it's a reason to go to a bar or to a pub. And that's probably not necessarily something that you need to spend lots of money on. It's just people like yourself who've got ideas and experience of how to create experiences for people, and just sharing that knowledge. And I think there's a lot of great cocktail bars and bars that do complicated drinks that have kind of got it nailed, but there's a lot that probably need your expertise and help and support to get to that level. And that's probably invaluable at the moment. So
yeah, I would agree. And it's certainly something that I'm here for, and to a larger extent, every other ambassador out there, I dare say, is going to be absolutely supportive of that. So yeah, I couldn't agree with that more.
And so then in the short to medium term plans, what have you got in the pipeline
for the brand? So we're in the middle of our cocktail competition at the moment, which we run annually. We didn't last year for obvious reasons. So that will be, our final will be held towards the end of July. The prize being a bottled cocktail that the winner will develop with us. So much like the Vespa Martini that we created with Alessandro, that has his name on the front of the bottle, they will get to develop their own recipe with us. Their name will go on that bottle, and that will form an extension of our Art of Perfection cocktail series, which is exciting. With £1 from each bottle going to hospitality action as well. So,
yeah.
A little bit to kind of give back to the industry as well. So that's one thing, which is very exciting, and very happy to be a part of that project. It's always fun developing cocktail competitions and entering them. So yeah, that's a big one. And otherwise, we've got big ambitions. We've got a big 10-year plan by sort of 2030 to grow and build the brand kind of globally. So there's lots more of that to be done, really. So I technically work within the marketing team for number 3. So there's lots of work to be done globally in helping to grow the brand, which is exciting. So once I can get out and travel, there will be elements of that, and doing trainings here, there, and everywhere, making sure that our distributors are up to speed on the brand and consumers as well. And yeah, just making sure that we're getting ourselves out there and growing, really.
Brilliant.
And obviously supporting where we can, and getting back out and doing events, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and that, like I say, that when the 21st of June comes around, if that's that deadline, whether it moves a little bit, or whether that's still the case, it'll mean that venues and businesses can be a little bit more creative with what they do. It's a bit challenging with table service and ordering on an app to kind of do the creative stuff, the drinks theatre, I guess, that people like from a cocktail bar or a premium restaurant. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that all being open again. I'm sure you are.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're not drinking number 3 gin, what would you be drinking?
Good question. Probably whiskey. I mean, I spent a long time in Scotland, in Edinburgh. When I first moved, when I was 23, I was not a whiskey fan. When I left, I loved the stuff, couldn't get enough of it. So big whiskey fan, be it in cocktails or just a nice dram on its own. And equally, I'm happy with a beer, pint of Guinness, give me that. Very happy. Wine, probably with a meal. So I'm not too fussy. I think it's time and place. Yeah. And depending on the venue that I'm going into as well. There are some venues that are well suited for a perfect cocktail, some, want Guinness.
I've noticed with certainly with the gin market over the years, and in a previous job working in regional brewer territory, and actually the business I worked for, we sponsored the Welsh rugby team. So a lot of our entertaining was blokes and pints of beer, and quite a lot of pints of beer during the day. And I noticed a few years back where people would have a few pints, and then when they thought, I can't drink any more beer, all of a sudden these big manly rugby men were all on various gins, because it's become acceptable that actually you don't have to just neck a large number of pints on a night out. And it really did change. There was a shift that in pubs and bars across the UK, gin was a really great option. And I find on a night out, if I want something that's refreshing and light, then I'd definitely opt for a gin over another pint of beer.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure I'll see you out in trade. And when we do some of these events, we're going to do some live events where we get everyone together to network. Obviously, COVID restrictions allowing. Definitely like to get you along, and perhaps people can try.
Yeah, that'd be great. So, yeah, fantastic.
Brilliant. Well, cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, thank you very much for having me.